What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel Patrol in Motion, a place for busy people and dream chasers looking to achieve their goals in a more efficient way. So if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Ira and I do project management, self-improvement and the occasional lifestyle video. So be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe to this channel if that sounds like interesting content to you. And if you're here again for another video, hello, welcome. Hit that like button as well and let's get straight into this video. Today's video, guys, is going to be a highly requested, highly anticipated video, which I said was gonna come out like last year, but you know, things be happening. But we thank God because it's here right now, and that is my top 10 CV or resume tips for project management. This video is kind of targeted at people that are just looking to get into project management. Maybe you want to transfer from a different field and you don't know what changes you need to make to your CV to make it appropriate for project management, or it could be your first job and you've never worked before and you want to get into project management and you just don't know where to start. I'm hoping to give you 10 top tips that will really make your CV stand out, hopefully get you an interview at least from your CV, and also highlight things that recruiters will be looking at when they're looking at your CV. So if you're interested, keep watching right to the end and let's get it popping. Just a quick disclaimer, guys, I'm probably going to be using the word CV a lot because I'm from the UK and we call our resumes CVs. It's interchangeable, they mean the same thing to my knowledge, so do forgive me if you're from the US or another part of the world where they use resume instead of CV. All right, so my first top tip, and by far the most important tip if you really want a recruiter or hiring manager to see your CV and take it seriously, is to have a simple structure. This is so imperative because a hiring manager or a recruiter will see so many different CVs that come in front of their face, and automatically you want to make, you know, the content that you're putting in that CV as easy to read as possible. You do not want, you know, that hiring manager to have to sift for information. You want it to just be there on their face, in their face, so they can come to you and be like, oh, I like what I'm seeing here, let me look deeper into this. And having a good structure is an excellent way to make that good first impression. I'm gonna put up an example of a good structured CV on the screen, so I hope that's gonna come up. And basically at the top you should always have your name, address, contact number, the basics at the top, and then separate it. Each section, whether it be your employment history or experience, which is a word I prefer to use than employment history. Employment history makes it sound like you've had jobs. Experience makes it sound like you're building a career. Top tip before the top tips. Anyway, let's carry on. Experience, qualifications, personal, summary, whatever it is that you've got on there, they should be in individual sections, which also should be segmented very clearly. So you can do that by using like a line, which is what I'm going to show on the screen, to just segment each section. But also another way to really help section out those different sections is to use color. And when I say color, I ain't talking about indigo, you know, yellow, nothing crazy like that. A dark navy blue would do that excellently, and it's just a way for the recruiter to navigate their eyes a little bit easier to the key sections that you want to put on your CV. When structuring your CV, trying to utilize your space is so very important. So if you're listing out key skills, for example, and there's about 10 bullet points, but the content of that key skill isn't actually very long, try to use columns to allow yourself to be able to put more bullet points across the empty space on the page, and that way you won't just have a gaping bit of white space that's not being used, and you can also give the employer less to read through. The best CVs that I've come across have a really plain, clean, neat structure to it. It doesn't need to be wacky, no funky colors, no designs, no print. Don't put your picture on there. It's completely unnecessary for a project management role as well. It just needs to be easy to read for me, so that the recruiter or the hiring manager doesn't tap out before you even have the opportunity to show them all the good things that you can do for their business. Tip number 2 then is to definitely include a personal summary as the first section on your CV. This is so useful because it is your time to shine. It is your time to pitch, you know, in the first 2 sentences why they need you. In that personal summary, this should be the time that you're using a lot of buzzwords. Use this space wisely. It doesn't have to be very long, but it should be descriptive. It should point out, you know, some of the good things you can do, but also the things that they're looking for. I'm going to give you an example of a summary that I've done on one of my previous CVs a long time ago, so you can get an idea of the kind of thing that I'm thinking of, and I hope you find this useful. So I hope you can see from there, it wasn't too long. It only took 3 lines in total, and in that time I've been very descriptive. I've used keywords, stakeholder management, effective communication, etc. And these are the kind of things that, you know, are buzzwords to recruiters, so it's definitely good to pop that in there. Tip number 3 is in reference to the experience section on your CV, and the tip is to write out your experience and a summary of what you've done before listing out how you got there. So I've actually mentioned this one on a previous video, how to get into project management with no experience. So if you haven't watched that and you're looking to get into project management with no experience, make sure you go watch that. The reason why this is so important, and I highlighted it also in that video, is because as a project manager, I want to see that you can do, right? Project managers are made to do things. So I want to see what you can achieve, what you can do first. And I also want to have an idea of how you did it in the sense of the environment in which you did it. So for example, in a previous role, you might have rolled out a new system or made a new system or implemented something that was your idea to 10 people and it cost X amount. In your first summary, you should be putting implemented and drove the delivery of X to this and in this amount. Do you get what I mean? So really try to just summarize it at the top, then underneath that put in the steps in which you took to get there. So setting up daily meetings, writing reports to stakeholders, chasing up escalations, yada yada yada, all of that stuff, budgeting and all of that. You can put that under. Make sure you just go and look at what things have I brought from A to B in the current role that I am, and also bring that out in your CV. Say what you achieved at the top as a summary, and then under that list out how you got there. Tip number 4 is to utilize key words. Guys, I need you to tap into this. Tap into this right now. Utilize key project management words. Let me put you on some game right now. Let me put you on some serious game right now. Especially for entry-level roles, a lot of those kind of roles are given out to like recruiting companies. And one thing that I've come to realize about certain recruiting companies is the recruiters don't actually know what they're recruiting for. They just have a brief overview of what the role entails. They themselves know some keywords that pop up in that role and the quite attractive in that role that are in the job description, for example, and then they go and search for those roles in people's CVs. It's a quick simple way for them to filter down CVs, especially if there's been a lot of demand and a lot of interest in that particular role. So you want to capitalize on that. You want budgeting, stakeholder management, clear communication, those kind of words to always be in your CV. I don't even care really where it is, but it needs to be in there somewhere, so that when a recruiter is looking at your CV and they perhaps don't have as much knowledge about the project management role that they're actually recruiting for, they will be able to pick up those keywords and be like, okay, it seems as though, you know, those keywords which are on the CV are also on the job description. perhaps I should give this person a little bit of a go. This is a really, really key top tip. If you do not have project management related keywords in your CV, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Make sure you look through project management key terms and try to integrate them into your CV as much as possible. And that really nicely links in with tip number 5, which is to match your CV with the job description. Guys, I'm putting you on something right now. Let's think about the psychology of how we get a job. An advert goes out, they say, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for. Then they go and look for CVs that match what they're looking for. Imagine if your CV said what they're looking for. Maybe not completely directly because you might not have the experience, but in terms of the wording, in terms of the activities that you can do, it's a quick, easy way, especially if you never worked in project management before, to be able to pull out certain activities that you've done in your current role that actually link in with project management. I'm a big advocate that you do not have to study project management to be a project manager, and that actually a lot of us do project management in our current roles already. We just don't know how to articulate the activities that we do. And a good way to, you know, be able to help yourself if you're struggling to articulate or find the words for what I do to correlate to project management activities is to look through different job descriptions and, you know, key skills and what they do on a daily basis and see, do I do any of that in my role? Copy, paste. It ain't cheating. It's called working smart, not hard. And we're trying to do that all 2022 when we're securing these jobs. Okay. Tip number 6 is to only expand on relevant experience. And this is really key because a lot of the time, especially if you're trying to get into a new role, you just like to write down all the experience that you've ever had in the last 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, however long you've been working. But really all that does is make it hard for the recruiter to find that bit of experience that's going to get you that interview. Instead, the experience that they want to see is shadowed and covered up by all this unnecessary bit of experience. And if they can't easily find that good experience that's, you know, relevant for the role, they're just going to discard your CV. We don't want that to happen. We don't want your CV to be discarded. So instead, this is what you should do. When you're listing out your experience, only expand on the experiences that are relevant, and the ones that are not, just write it as a one-liner. You don't need to go into bullet points for each bit of experience. Say there are only 2 bits of experience that have somewhat some project management traits and activities within that role. Expand, focus on those, focus on making those big, nice, juicy bits that are very descriptive and key to the point. And then, you know, when you were a cashier in Boots for 2 years, just put cashier at Boots. I don't need to hear, you know, mop the shop floor and all of that. It's very irrelevant to the role. Next tip is to not snitch on yourself. And I see so many people do this all the time. What I mean by that is to downplay what you're doing or to give up unnecessary information that is not favorable on your CV. Always focus on bigging yourself up, not justifying where you might have a few shortcomings. If you're doing a project management qualification, for example, Prince 2, but you haven't even started the exams, or you've only done the foundation level and not the practitioner level, listen. Personally, if it were me, I would put Prince 2 on my CV. 1, because it's a buzzword and it will probably be something that they're interested in looking at. Don't necessarily need to highlight only foundation level. At an interview, if they want you to clarify, clarify. You're not lying, you have done Prince 2 just at a foundation level. And if you're working towards it, just say working towards Prince 2. You don't need to say Prince 2 accredited. If you're not accredited, don't be lying in these streets. We are not about that on this channel. But if you're working towards it, put working towards Prince 2. Boom. When that CV goes through whatever system the recruiters put it through, it will pick up Prince 2. It is always good to put it on there. Even if you haven't booked your exam, if you know you're working towards it and you're studying towards it, put that qualification on your CV. It is a nice buzzword. Tip number 8 then is to quantify everything, and I've spoken about this previously in another video. Project managers like to hear numbers. We like to hear digits. We like to hear, you know, pounds, dollars, time scales, seconds, years, months, whatever it is. If you've worked in a team, don't just say I worked in a team. How many people in that team? A team of 5. Quantify it. If you had a budget, how big was that budget? 10k, 20k, 1 mil, doesn't matter what it is, make sure you quantify it. How long your project was, and if it wasn't a project, it might have been a case at work, if say you're a lawyer or whatever. How long did it last for? They want to know, you know, how long you can be dedicated to a particular task. Can you work on multiple tasks at the same time? Quantify it. It's really, really helpful, and it helps the hiring manager also get a vague view of the capacity in which you can manage. Tip number 9 then is to add the country code into your contact number. So for example, if you're in the UK, plot a +44 before you put the rest of your telephone number. And this is really key, especially now that COVID has changed the way in which we work. Many people are working abroad now. Your hiring manager might be abroad, and if they want to give you a quick ring, they need to know where you're based. You know, that number that they're using might not be familiar to them. So just make it that little bit more easier for them to contact you. And then tip number 10 then on how to make an outstanding project management CV, which a recruiter really wants to delve into and wants to know more about, is to proofread it. There is nothing more distracting than reading the CV and seeing an error. It will throw your recruiter off. Spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes, any kind of mistakes, doesn't make it easy to read. It actually just makes it very, very distracting, and the last thing you want to do is to distract your recruiter. So that's it for this week's video, guys. I hope you found that useful. If this video was useful to you, please give me a big thumbs up, and also remember to subscribe to my channel because I have lots of new PM content coming out. Those of you hoping to get a job in 2022, do make sure you implement these 10 steps, because I do think they'll really, really make the difference. And also let me know how you're getting on in the comments down below. Let me know if, you know, your CVs are starting to manifest, they're starting to look better, if they're getting you interviews. That's also very key. Once again, always appreciate the love and support, and I'll see you in my next video.